Okay, I've decided to put this in another video just because I realised I didn't have the PowerPoint up for the last video and I would like to do it for this one. So this is lesson 13. Why was William Harvey important to the development of medicine? So straight away in our lesson, if you were to sit this lesson right now, you'd have your low stakes quiz. So feel free to pause the video and attempt the questions just so you really have that sort of niche knowledge for your revision, and also you should be keeping up with the online quizzes that we set anyway. Okay, so when we think about William Harvey, so William Harvey's a case study, so he may come up as an individual study, and we think about our question that we're asking us today is, why was William Harvey important to the development of medicine? So like I said, we're thinking of another individual that's incredibly important to the development of medicine. And the whole idea of this video is to evaluate the impact of Harvey on medicine itself. Now, when you think about Harvey, you need to be thinking about the heart, essentially, and the way to kind of remember that is Harvey, heart. So H for Harvey, H for heart, which you can write in there. So when you think about Harvey, you think about the heart. Now, if we just go back to our PowerPoint, just because there's some better visuals there, we know that when we think of the heart, we think of it as a pump. That's what we believe. And the idea of that comes from this idea kind of developed by William Harvey using his knowledge from Vesalius, who we did in the previous video. So the story so far about the heart, they now know that the heart obviously has blood, and there is a septum that is involved in the heart. So what did Harvey actually discover? So talking about the septum again, so this is the septum, this solid tissue. Vesalius proved that the septum is a solid wall, so will not allow blood to cross the heart. So Harvey thought, well, okay, so how does it kind of move around the body? And he declared that the heart acts as a pump. So blood is moved away from the heart via the arteries and brought back to the heart via the veins. Now, you may already know this in science, and it's not like you need to know specific, scientific examples, but you just need to know, you don't just to kind of give you an understanding. It's not something you need to particularly write in your history exams. When you think of the heart, A is blood being pushed away from using the arteries and then comes back from the veins. And the way you think that is away arteries, that's it. Like I said, don't need to know it, but hopefully it gives you a better understanding of the heart anyway. So the reason why those images are just there is just because he might have got his idea from a water pump, seeing that, and he kind of used that, the skill of observing, to come up with his theory that the heart is actually a pump. So what we need to think about is, well, what did people think about blood beforehand? What did Galen think? And what is Harvey's theory? So if we go back to our area here after answering our questions, Galen's theory is over here and Harvey's theory is over here. Now again, these are scientific descriptions that you don't necessarily need to know in too much detail, but try to take these key points away with you. Number one, and this is what you should be writing in these areas here, the heart, Galen believed that the heart blood was produced in this organ, so the liver. He believed that the blood was in the liver and it just kind of sent blood around the body, which then sort of burned off. Now, what you should be able to notice here is then there is not this idea of blood ever coming back, okay? It's just blood is going off forever, suggesting that Galen thought that the liver had an endless supply of blood. I'm not writing this in there just because it is on the PowerPoint, so I'll put it up in a second. So he believed that the liver produced the blood and it sent it off around the body, suggesting that the liver had this endless supply of blood. Now we believe in something else due to Harvey, which we're going to have in this box over here. And we believe, so if I get this image up, we believe in something called the circularity system. So just write it here. So your first bullet point on that box under Harvey's theory would be the circularity, don't know how to spell, system. Something like that. Okay, so when we think about this system over here, what we're looking at, so you should be writing the idea of circularity system in this section here. It's the idea, obviously, being circular, that the blood is coming back. And that's exactly what we know, and it's what I mentioned previously here, that the blood goes away from the arteries and comes back from the veins. And when you look over here, you can see, so let's just imagine that the blood is, so say this is the kind of inner workings of the heart. The blood is going away over here via the arteries. It then goes to the lungs to get oxygen. So it then goes to, it gets oxygenated from the lungs, goes away from the arteries, goes all the way around from the body, then comes back from the veins. So it's like I said before, A, away, arteries, comes back from the veins, B. So really you just need to know the idea that the heart contracts. It will, again, you don't need to go into so much scientific detail. The idea is just the heart will contract from its electrical impulse, and that pump, that contraction, causes blood to be pushed out of the heart, go around to the body, and then it comes back, okay? So this is very different to what Galen thought, and that's where we come in. We're not here to kind of have a scientific understanding of the heart, circulation system. All you need to know is this directly is very opposing to this idea. The organ is different, the idea of coming back is different, and Harvey's theory is able to be kind of credited, and Galen is discredited, meaning he's not seen as, this theory is considered wrong because people have just discovered, Vesalius has just discovered the septum. Circulation allows people to see these sort of valves and the carrying of the blood. So people start to realise, okay, another thing that Galen said that isn't correct. Okay, so the whole point of today's lesson isn't, like I said, to know the science behind it, but more importantly is to think about, well, what were the reasons he's able to make progress? Because our idea is we need to think about the factors of medicine. So those are already highlighted for you here. You just have to write down, what you need to do in your area here is read through those boxes, highlight the key informations, pieces, tell me, explain. You could even, if you wanted to, write a summary next to it. And then for science and technology, I want you to also think about, well, how was he able to make progress in that area? And obviously, to understand the science behind it, you will need this. So when we think about the scientific method, what you need to do is think about, in science, when you're on your science lessons, when you're about to do a practical, what sort of things do you have to do? And that kind of puts you in a position to understand this a little bit better. Now, if you were obviously in a position where you're dissecting things, you might have in science lessons already, you would know that you'd understand hopefully the importance of dissecting and opening things up. So you would write down in your box the idea of why dissection is so important, why it's so important to the anatomy. He observed the pump, he observed the heart. Why is observation so important? Again, think about the logic when you're doing your own practical. Why is experimenting so important? What else do you need to do? You need to repeat that experiment. Why is measuring so important? You measure, you record not only the method, you record the results. Why is that so important? What then do you do with the results? What might he have done with those results? And that's what you need to be thinking about for this box over here. So obviously think in the context of Harvey. So you can think about the idea of, what equipment could you have used? So what is available to you in the world of the Renaissance? So think back to your previous lessons. Remember, we're looking at microscopes. And try to understand how he's able to make progress in that area. Now, like I said, it's quite a quick lesson. So lastly, you just have to do the kind of however box of why his progress could be limiting. So you need to think about, well, what, would everyone believe him? Are people happy with the idea of rejecting Galen? So here are some concepts that you can just summarise in your box. Rejecting Harvey's work, bloodletting continued. So it suggests that they don't have this idea, because hopefully you see how with Galen's idea of the liver constantly producing this bloodletting would make more sense to them because there's this endless supply. Harvey's idea did not make anyone better, so think about our simples criteria. Is there anything there that you can think it didn't do? For example, does the understanding of the circulatory system stop infection? No. So you could say that perhaps that's a limitation of it. People thought he was mad, all those kind of things. Okay. And then the whole point is you just need to really, the big take home here is people didn't view Harvey as respectful. They weren't too happy with all of his ideas, and people still did bloodletting. And then for your summary, I then again just want you to write me a quick summary of why Harvey is so important. Thank you.